We have a little bit of an issue in that the council have decided today is the day they're going to trim all of the trees on my road.
Makes it for a very pastoral episode,
Well, they're starting at the top, and we'll see how loud they get. And
well, I had the cleaning lady last time, and you have the council doing the trees. I mean, it just shows how live and raw we are.
Yeah. You have a little bit of an echo, too.
Oh, shoot. I don't know where it comes from. Do I have two microphones up? No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still there.
I'm going to go in my settings. No, I have the mix minus. It's correct. Could it be... You can still hear some echo?
Now I can't.
Oh, exactly. Something happened.
Yeah, no, there is. I can still hear.
Fucking crying out loud. I don't know. I don't have open back headphones.
Maybe it's me. I don't know.
Whatever, guys, you're seeing we've been doing this for 5 years and we still have issues.
Yeah.
Well,
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
I feel like we're going to need it today.
if you guys have an echo for the next hour or two, well, you'll tell me because I don't know, man. How are you?
I'm good, yeah. Spring has sprung, so I'm happy about that. They need to take care of those trees, so I don't begrudge them. I just wish they wouldn't do it like right now.
You can have more light into your studio because the tree is on your window, right? Or something?
Exactly. They got to do what they got to do. How are you?
I am very good. I'm still battling with my Pakistani visa.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know, guys, it's not to berate the Pakistani government, but it's very complicated. Last time I went in 2018, I had paperwork, and this time it's all online, which is great to do it all online. But the frustrating bit is that you don't have anyone to talk to, and they keep asking you for more documents, which they were not requesting in the first place, and I only have 2 weeks to clear it, and I want to do the Q suite that I booked.
Yeah, very excited.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I spent 3 hours 2 days ago, an hour yesterday. Also, all these systems, they always have you can only do PDF, but in a certain format and size and JPEG, but also oh my God, so I have to transform half of the files. Anyway, sorry guys, I'm ranting right now.
Well, I think it just shows how far we have to go and all of this stuff with the electronic visas. And
absolutely. Again, I'm not berating.
No. I mean, they've got other problems to solve.
Much better than it was. If you guys go to, I don't remember which episode it was about probably at November 2018, I think. I had to step away from the from the gate when I was flying back at Etihad because they wouldn't let me in because the documents, they were not sure. They had to go through another process, ask their manager, call whoever at the mission or something. So it's much better that you can do it online. I still want to go, but I'm not sure. The thing is, I will admit as well, I mean, it was a very last minute because I think I mentioned in the other episodes I was thinking of not going because of the COVID regulations. These regulations changed, which is great. But now I'm very short on time with the visa. They say they recommend 6 weeks. I'm 2.5 weeks away.
6 weeks for a visa.
Yeah, for that type of visa, because a visa is like you would get as well, which is a conference visa. It's not a business visa. It's not, you're not going to work. You're going to perform or attend. And I mean, anyway, we'll see. And you have to battle with the 4 or 5 hours time difference because clearly they are processed not here in London, it seems, but there, which means that as soon as 2 p.m. hits here, you get no response. And next week is one of their most important holidays. So all the offices will be closed for 4 days. So I'm really getting a bit antsy. I might not go. The good thing with Qatar Airways, however, is that, they're still on the COVID, full refundable, whatever. So if I don't go, at least I'm going to get my money back. Anyway, let's start with the Caribbean because we did the Maldives last time. So let's stay in holiday mode. You just mentioned spring is here in London. We're recording, by the way, the 29th of April, 2022. Man, only 3 weeks later. I don't know what happens.
That's not bad.
And have you been to the Caribbean?
I have never been to the Caribbean.
Oh wow! I thought for some reason I assumed.
Oh, well, I did sort of, but it was for work and I didn't get to stay very long. So I have not experienced the Caribbean properly, I think is probably the safest way to say it.
Yeah, I had never. So I had been to the Caribbean Sea because I had been like early 2000s. I think 2001. I was in Mexico on a road trip on which I hit as well. I was Yucatan, etc., and Quintero, where there's Tulum. Well, it was super empty back then. Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Puerto Ventura.
Yeah, I've been there. It's weird. I don't count that.
But that's a Caribbean Sea. Yeah, but that's exactly. That's the thing. That's what I was trying to say. It feels that it is, but it's not, because the Caribbean, you kind of feel is like these far-flung places, like the Maldives, the Seychelles, Fiji, French Polynesia. You can associate that with like
That's
these tiny islands,
isn't it?
Right? And also, yeah, of course, I had also been, I mentioned in 107 when I was briefly living in Costa Rica. We're talking the 90s here. I'm an old guy. On the East Coast, Limon, and back up, I recommend that because you should do it one day. It's called Tortuguero National Park. It's a park when we can see the actual sea turtles laying eggs.
Oh, wow.
See them. That's on the Caribbean Sea as well. But yeah, first time for me as well. So I had seen the sea, but not the airlines. But I'm going ahead of myself. So Virgin.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of firsts here.
But you know what? I must admit, maybe it's word association. I know because you know Virgin way more than I do. I've worked in the Virgin Group. But for me, as someone who wasn't living in the UK until 10 years ago, Virgin I always associated with holidays. And probably because the word association with Virgin Islands, there's two sets of Virgin Islands in the Caribbean. And for some reason, I know maybe you'll correct me, but I don't think Richard Branson named Virgin.
No, it was because they were all virgins in business.
Yeah.
That may be, what is it, apocryphal, I think is the word.
I don't know. But for some reason, I tend to associate the airline and the airlines, the defunct one that you used to work for with holidays. I know it's not a holiday carrier.
I don't think that they would be unhappy with that.
Were they?
I don't think they'd be unhappy with that association of you think of Virgin and you think of holidays, because they're a big boy carrier, but they are primarily a leisure carrier.
Yeah. Though I know I'm mixing stuff up. I consider them to go to Pakistan. They have a direct to Lahore. And since I should be, again, pending the visa approval, maybe in 2 weeks I'll tell you that I've never been to Lahore. I'm doing both two cities, Karachi and Lahore. So obviously back and forth to Lahore and then flying internally could have worked as well. But I don't know. I haven't done the Q Suite for so long.
Yeah,
and the price was very similar in the end. So I was like, yeah, I don't know. And do I want to fight for a new renewal? I'm not sure. I mean, I got gold, as I told you.
Oh, I see.
The status match. I'll come to that in a second because it's quite funny what happened. But but now I need to do, 1,000 tier points or whatever. That I don't remember how much I need to do. But do I really want in an era of less travel to try to attain or maintain in my case gold yet another program? I'm not sure. This is not something, because I liked Virgin. That's the headline. I'll come to why, but I'm not sure I want to go to yet another airline to try to.
No,
I don't know.
And the idea of tier point runs is very unattractive to me now. I've done it once or twice when I was like, 40 tier points short of renewal, and why not? But the idea of doing that now, like, no, I don't. No.
Have you often flown? I didn't ask you that. Have you often flown Virgin Atlantic?
I flew Virgin Atlantic a lot. 90s because my father worked there.
Yeah.
And then when I worked for the group, and then up until I traveled a lot for speaking, I would always lean towards Virgin. But when I started traveling more for work within Europe. Obviously, they have no network, and it just made sense to go with BA, and I would be getting the benefits and blah 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 blah. So
yeah, that's the usual thing, right? It's
I hadn't flown them. I think last year when I told you I flew back from LA on them, and that was the first time in years and years and years and years and years. So
yeah. Oh, by the way, sorry guys, I forgot. Where is the? There you go. I had to do this. Again, can I you getting a shout out every single episode if you like the music. So, yeah, let's do. I'll do a mix because I don't want to speak because obviously Alex hasn't flown in the past 3 weeks, so I wanted to avoid being me only talking for the whole time. So what I'll do probably is I'll talk about going there, Virgin, flying to St Lucia, and then we'll stop, and then I'll do the return afterwards, so we kind of mix it up a little bit.
I've been looking forward to hearing about this because you've been very sparse with details. Like you haven't told me anything other than a couple of pictures you show me.
Yeah, which I share with you. I didn't want to bother you because, of course, all the pictures would have been beaches in St Lucia, and I was like, it is exactly right. I mean, I sent that to a client. He was like, "Where are you now?" And I sent the picture back instead of with no comment, and he was like, "My God, I don't want to talk to you anymore." So, the one really funny, interesting bit. So the original flying departure time was at 12:30. Then I use a lot Flighty these days, which it's one of these apps. It's very well done. I would say it kind of competes with TripIt, but TripIt has the hotels and everything. Flighty is just for the flights. It's really made for av geeks, I would say. Even though, I mean, obviously, if you're just flying, it is also very, very good. And Flighty is very good at the notifications for change of aircraft and change of times. And so it was 12:30. Then suddenly it says 11:30, Flighty, before Virgin tells me. And I'm like, okay, fine. And that was like 4 days before the flight. And I'm like, oh, that's good because I'm going to be landing earlier in St Lucia, more holidays for me. And then it says 11:10, the night before of the flight. And I was like, Virgin didn't tell me that. So I was like, how people are going to come early enough in the airport?
And did it turn out to be the case?
Actually, no. He was in the middle, but I'll explain why. Because actually, I was guessing, I'm getting ahead of myself, if they were not doing that, even the original 12:30 to 11:30, just because they knew there were so many people. T3 was a nightmare, and there were so many people that were they trying to kind of hint at us like, come early, guys, instead of just telling you come early, like they would announce a flight leaving a bit earlier, because at the end of the day we kind of left closer to original time than to the second time that was announced. So anyway, but it was interesting to get these, because for me, flying, it's you've done it a few times. I mean, you've flown so many airlines, same as me, but flying a new airline is always kind of, you're a virgin.
Exciting. Yeah.
You're like, I'm not sure how they work, what's their usual, but how do they think about things and passenger experience? So anyway, gold. So I had gold. So on the Virgin app, we don't receive cards anymore, especially especially with COVID, you don't receive like a gold card. But usually what you have, and Virgin doesn't, is Apple Wallet, or I guess Google Wallet cards, something you can put in. Virgin doesn't. So Virgin, you have in the app, you have one section which says, you're flying, what's the name?
Flying Club, yeah.
Gold. I'm on the M4 that leads to Heathrow Airport. And literally, when we turn from the M4 to go down closer to when you go to Terminal 2 and 3, my app stops working, logs me out, so you need to log in again. I'm like, okay, whatever. It happens. It could be the network, whatever. I log back in. I'm Flying Club Red.
Uh-oh.
Exactly. So suddenly I'm like, what the hell? Can I go to the wing? Can I actually go to the clubhouse? The lounger was like freaking out. Like, I'm not freaking out, I'm exaggerating, but I mean,
of course.
Only shots to try these, right? And because I'm freaking out, I'm in an Uber, and I forget to tell the driver, when you arrive at Terminal 3, you're supposed to turn slightly before to enter that upper wing thing. And I don't tell him. So and I'm like, I was still fiddling with relogging to my app. Anyway, never mind. I arrive. I was able to relog, as I told you. And I see on the ticket, on the booking, a little mention of gold. So I'll take a screenshot of that. I'm like, if I'm being logged out again, at least I have a screenshot somewhere that tells that I'm gold. And I arrive, and I'm heaving. But I enter Terminal 3, and the first thing I see is premium economy right in front of me. Mm-hmm. And there also are some upper class check-ins at that level, so the ground level.
Yep.
of course, all the economy. And I see that premium economy, there's not a lot of people. So I'm like, you know what? The airport is heaving. I'm going to take a shot there because there's like literally 2 other people at dock check. So they have a first gate, a dock check, which is for COVID purposes. And then they let you go to the actual check-in counter. So I told you the story in the last episode, guys, that they had changed the rules for COVID. So the original rule was 5 days before you needed to get a test. Up to 5 days before could get 4, obviously. And so for me, I flew on a Thursday, and on the Saturday, so exactly 5 days before, they said, we don't need a test anymore. If you are double jabbed, you can enter the country without issue it. So I canceled my test, got the refund, super happy. And as I told you as well, because the website still kind of hinted that I needed to upload documents, I started to upload documents, and it asked me for a test. So I wrote to the Office of Tourism in St Lucia. They told me, no, you don't need to do that anymore. Sorry, our website is not very clear. I found on Twitter, actually, I found an email from the London office, the representation of St Lucia, which told me the same thing. And they had also sent me a press release from St Lucia.
How amazing that they were so responsive.
Exactly. And in 15 minutes, right? So very responsive. So very happy. Kudos to both these offices. And there's a reason I'm going into so much details, because obviously I printed everything, and thank God I printed everything, because I arrived there and the first question I've been asked is, do you have a test? I'm like, no, I don't need a test. Yes, you need a test. No, I don't need a test. She goes on her iPad. Yes, you need a test. Hold on, I'm going to call my manager. So the manager, in her red outfit, as Virgin, comes, tap, 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 tap on her own iPad. You need a test. I'm like, of course, the first thing you're thinking, even if I'm ahead of time, I'm like, first, will I get through? Or do I need to get a quick test at there's now facilities within the airport, at T3 as well. But you don't know how many people will have to wait can actually clear it. But I'm like insisting. I'm like, I have all the paperwork. So I'm showing her the papers. He's like, hold on a minute. I'm going to triple check. And she leaves. She leaves, honestly, for what it should have been probably 4 to 5 minutes. But in my head, that was 45 minutes, obviously. Because, you see all the other people going through. Of course, it's other destinations. It's only not St Lucia. And she comes back and she's like, can I take a copy of the press release? And I'm like, of course you can. I'd like to keep one because, I was in my head, I'm like, maybe I need it in St Lucia. And basically what happened is that anyone who's been to St Lucia since can thank me, because they changed the rule that day, because she gathered literally all the people and said, this is the new rule for St Lucia. It's not on your iPad. Here is the rule. No.
Wow, you saved a lot of people a lot of hassle with your persistence.
But you know what? The thing that it was exactly 5 days after the announcement means that obviously that was the first flight with those new rules. Because the day before, with 5 days, would have still been probably a lot of people would have already had their test, no matter the change of rule, because they already had.
I don't envy the airlines having to keep up with all of this stuff. I mean, you have to have an entire department.
They were very nice, right? They were super kind and super professional. It was not a standoff or anything. It was just that. Of course, I was a bit tense, but I tried to be my usual smiley optimist.
Swiss diplomatic self.
Well, thank you for that. But yeah, it worked, and they were very kind. And then, again, she gathered, and I went through check-in, and they asked me again for the papers. I'm like, 2 meters behind me. Never mind. Again, I don't envy them. It's exactly what you just said. I mean, they have to make sure that everything is in line. So anyway. And then I say, okay, so I'm gold. Can you tell me if I can access the lounge? She says, yeah, you can. Actually, and that's where gold was not really useful at that point. She tells me, because you're in premium economy and because there's so many people, we're putting all premium economy and up, so upper and premium economy, through the upper wing dedicated security. So say, please go up. And when you go up, you'll see there's a door that leads you to the upper wing. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to still see the upper wing, which is very cool. And I go there, and even before, so there's other set of stairs or the escalators. And as soon as I step off the escalators, there's already a queue and crowd management. And there's this very nice chap from Virgin Atlantic tell us, sorry, there's so many people inside the upper wings. We have to do management here. So we're letting a few people at a time inside of the, I'm like, okay, well.
And the wing is the dedicated golden upper class check-in area, which
yes,
I always avoided like the plague.
Why?
Because for the exact reason you described, like it was often really, really. So the only way you can access is the separate driveway that you described, and then there's like 4 or 5 check-in desks in this separate area, ostensibly above the main check-in area.
Yes, exactly.
But it was always heaving, and the check-in desks on the right-hand side of this massive
it's a round thing. It's like a
yeah. But downstairs, where everybody is all economy, premium economy, they're also, like you said, upper class check-in desks, and then right next to those check-in desks, where they're usually not that busy, is the lift that takes you halfway between the wing check-in area and the private security. So you're dumped out in this little alcove, and it was always, I always found it way faster than so you did the right thing for sure.
Oh, well, then I realized that exactly the path I took by no accident probably, but by chance. The thing is, so as soon as that door is an automatic door, so I could peek inside every time they would leave a little bit of group, and I saw the crowd and I was like, the hell? But I'm like, okay, well, first I want to see it. That's my AvGeek side. I'm like, I really want to go into that wing. I've never seen it the way you just described it. Very nice, by the way. So finally let in, and then the queue basically starts in the corridor. It goes all around where the checking counters that you just mentioned are, which is in front of where the curb is, where the cars leave their passengers of gold and upper, and then back into another corridor to the security. I don't want to make the story too long, but the whole thing from stepping off that escalator before entering the upper wing to passing security took me 55 minutes.
Ooh.
At some point when I arrived in near the checking counters of the upper wing, I asked one of those. I went to the counter. I said, "Should I go to the normal security? Because I don't. It's nice to be here, but she tells me if you want to go, but it's going to be worse. I can show you." And she showed me. So we walked together. My God, the number of people. So I got lucky getting 55 minutes, and apparently it was. Not apparently, I could see it with my eyes, but I could not realize how long it would take. But it was heaving with people. I mean, it was holidays.
Easter holiday, right? Okay,
exactly, right. So it was, but crazy, man. I mean, travel recovery is here, man. Let's be honest. There's also Terminal 4 is still closed, so you have a lot of airlines that used to be in Terminal 4 that are in Terminal 3.
I forgot about that.
Etihad, Air France, a few others from SkyTeam are there. Qatar is at T5.
What is the deal with that? Are they going to reopen Terminal 4?
I don't know.
Surely, I guess it's.
But at some
maybe
point,
it's a staffing thing because everywhere that's the problem.
That's what I'm thinking as well. Right.
Yeesh.
Anyway, pardon me. It is what it is. And I was early because you and me, I was early at the airport. So anyway, plus I knew it was a new airline. It was COVID. I wanted to enjoy the clubhouse.
Of course.
That was honestly during the whole queuing at security. That was my only thinking. Not that I'm going to miss the plane. Will I have time to actually go to the club? I did. I went. Very funny because obviously I arrived at the clubhouse. I show my boarding pass. It says gold. So the first sentence is welcome back. In my head, I said, should I answer? No, I'm not. Because I've never been. So, of course, back. Well, but that's how they treat gold passengers. They assume that it was not a status match. Yeah, it was heaving as well. But I understand why so many people love it. I had only been to the one in New York, which is much smaller but also very jazzy and fun. This one is a bit less jazzy, it's more, I don't know how to describe it. It's still very sexy and hip.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different areas. There's a bar and there's like a place to sit down, couches, sofas, chairs. There's a little bit of everything. There's the pool table on in the middle. Was it foosball? I don't remember now. The garden. Not very convinced. It was not really that nice. I mean, you can go out.
Yeah, that was only the reason why I loved it, is because you could go out and get a breath of fresh air and see the airplanes.
I was probably, but I would say that was the same criticism that I made for JetBlue at T5, their own garden. Both were underwhelming, because when I had seen the pictures years ago, I thought it would be like super cool. Yeah, it's nice. You have chairs and you can sit outside. It was a bit windy and cold. We're still a bit early in the UK to enjoy but it's a plus. I'm not here dissing it. I'm just saying that I was expecting something like so fantastic, and I was like, yeah, there are colored chairs. Okay, but it's nice.
Well, colored chairs are an upgrade from when I was last there.
Oh, really? But really, I get why people love it. I guess my experience is a bit, first it was really packed, to the point it was hard to find a place to sit, but I could, obviously. And the other difference probably between pre-COVID is that you had to order at the table. So I don't know if it was a regular feature or if it's only for COVID. What was funny is that they had an issue with their QR codes, because the QR codes were not aligned with the tables that were supposed to. So I kept asking for a latte and a glass of champagne, and I got mango juice and what was it? And some hot chocolate. And I was like, no, that's not me. And they came thrice. I was like, no, that's not me. So I ended up going to the bar. I said, you cannot come to the bar. Yeah, but I still want my champagne before I leave the lounge. It was very early to take a champagne, but it was kind of the celebration of, it was small glass. Anyway, the Peloton section, though, I mean.
So the Peloton section used to be the salon where you can go and get a free haircut. Less useful for you, but.
Well, exactly.
Oh my God, dude, I would wait to get a haircut if I knew I had a flight coming up.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. They used to.
Oh my God.
They used to. I mean, I know it's kind of a bummer that it's been replaced, but it was a cowshed salon, and you could pay for
better, higher,
more services and stuff like that. But then they used to have the massage area. I mean, massages were like the Virgin Atlantic's thing in the 90s. And then behind that, there were the showers and all of that. But yeah, I gather they've replaced it with a Peloton section, which is clearly a kind of co-branding thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Because would you really go to a 30-minute workout before flying and be all sweaty? Okay, there are showers probably. I didn't check them out. It was empty. And I'm wondering, for anyone who's been since Peloton is installed, tell us, guys, have you ever seen anyone doing a Peloton ride on one of these 3 or 4, I don't remember, machines? Because it's really nice. I get the kind of tie-in for branding reasons. But would you really do that? I'm like, I have a Peloton. I kind of like doing from time to time. But would I do that in an airport lounge before flying for God knows how many hours? I don't know.
No, it's called a lounge for a reason. That's right.
Exactly. I don't know how long they've signed the deal for, and Peloton shares a solo that at some point, probably there's an end. And maybe because of COVID, replacing it for an air salon is maybe too early now. Back to an air salon, and maybe massage and only they were happening. By the way, I didn't check because with COVID, a lot of stuff is. But it felt like the space not being really well utilized, because you could have like something cooler. I mean, again, I get what they were trying to do, but it's one of these ideas that in reality, I don't think it actually makes any sort of sense.
No, I saw them post that on Instagram whenever they did it, and I just thought, well, that's a waste of space unless you're making a ton of money on it.
Yeah, exactly. There must be some tie-in, exactly. But I'm not sure it will survive the renewal of contract. So maybe we'll see something else. But anyway, if any one of you listeners, you've seen anyone doing a Peloton ride, waiting for a flight. I mean, even my flight is delayed by 5 hours, let's say, and I have like 8 hours in the lounge, which only happens usually when you do layovers in the Middle East, but I would not do that. I don't think so.
No, neither would I.
And I run every day. I do pelotons a few times per month, whatever. But I would not do that, man. Anyway, so I got to enjoy the lounge. I understand how people love it. It's so different from every other lounge at Heathrow. It's very, very, very different, and it's very unique. I would say that no one does it like that. I had seen the one again in JFK. You've probably seen it as well with the piano in the center or whatever. It's very, it's unique. They really are a bit like what JetBlue is different. JetBlue, obviously, but they really are their own. You can understand that it's something you couldn't find, a tone of voice that you cannot find elsewhere.
It's definitely got a lot of character. I mean, if you dim the lights, it could very easily be a nightclub or a cocktail lounge or something like that, and that's what they were going for.
I'll use a cocktail bar analogy in a second when I'll continue talking about Virgin, because it's what they remind me. So so I go to gate. I was late, obviously, because I was spending time in the lounge and then forgot to take a look at my the board. Oh my God, running in T3, like I was at the very end of the 20s, so like you have to walk. Anyway, fine. Board. They give you a little parcel which has like wipes, sanitizer, and 2 masks, which is nice. But by the way, masks are not mandatory anymore. And basically, I think even if I'm getting ahead of myself during the flight, probably in my section, so in the premium economy, if 10% of people had a mask, it's a lot.
10%.
It is what it is. I think the day, and I know that the US now has dropped it domestically, and but the UK was the first to drop it. As soon, I guess, you tell people not to do it, it's not mandatory. I get it. It's not fun. I don't find it uncomfortable, but I have 2 minds on all this, man, because of course the and I guess you too. I mean, on the personal kind of like comfort level, I don't want to meddle with a mask. It's nice not to have one, and I don't know. But anyway, the result is that pretty much no one had it, but it's still nice that they give it to you. And premium economy, man. So it was a Dreamliner 789. I don't know what generation I get. I've never flown Virgin, but so what generation of premium economy I got. I really liked it. It's really nice. They do that thing that, Virgin is your brand when, there's some dimmer, some red hues in the cabin, and it's, I don't know. It feels really nice and comfy. Yeah, of course, it's not upper class in the sense there's not the same width and room for. But you know me, I'm 6'5", 195, 96, 95 and a half, and my knees didn't hit in the front, and I had like lots of space, and it was pretty wide as well, so I could fiddle around. I really like it. It's a 232, if I'm not mistaken. It's really nice. Honestly, it's I know that some people, you don't know that some people wrote to me after the previous episode telling me that, so Paul, you fly Emirates first and you don't describe the product. I'm like, yeah, because we've done it so many times.
Yeah. And you look at it with a different eye, right? When it's
Maybe we have new listeners that I don't know, but so maybe we'll redo a description of these products that we've done so many times. But I don't know how to describe this besides that it felt really comfy. And it's probably a newer generation of seats. Again, I cannot compare. The only hint I got is that the front, so the upper class, was still this kind of herringbone thing, or reverse herringbone, meaning it's not the new suite, whatever they call it as well. They announced. I don't know if they are still deployed. But it's not. It's a Dreamliner. So it's no more than a few years old, maybe 5, 6. I don't know. And I really, I hesitated taking bulkhead. I didn't, because I wanted to avoid babies if they were cots, if they had. So I was in the middle of the cabin. There's a nice little screen in front of you. It's a touch screen. There's a USB-A. I charged my phone with it. The Wi-Fi during the flight worked well. There's multiple tiers as always. It's not like, you don't have a T1 line, but you can still do stuff, and that was nice because it's a day flight for 9.5 hours. It's one of these flights that go on forever.
Yeah, they really do.
You know what? The fact that I hadn't flown a lot for a long time obviously means that basically I had seen nothing on the IFE, so I had a lot of stuff to see. I think I saw 3 movies or something. The only thing that I would say, and that shows my privileges, because I often fly business class, and sometimes I do not take my own headphones, because on business class, you know that you'll have something good. The headphones on premium, obviously, are maybe the same in the economy. They're like, they look like the ones with, I'm going to date myself, the ones that you got with your Walkman in 1984, only that they're just pure black. So they don't really cover your ears. It's not even noise cancelling. It's not noise attenuating. It's noise enhancing, probably, even. Like you have to fight with a volume knob to actually hear something. So I had my, they're not, these, like they are Bose 20, I think. They're like wired, but they're still noise cancelling.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Very, very, £200 or whatever. I had them for years. When I don't want to carry like a big pair of headphones, they're in ear, and you plug them away. And by the way, it's the normal plug, like the jack. And yeah, that was great. That was the only downside, I would say, of the quality of the stuff you get. The food was really nice. Menu, it's a good service. It's hard for me to compare because I don't know what it would be in economy. Maybe you can tell me. And of course, probably much better in upper. But it was a very nice service, very engaging. The staff was super fun with their red outfits again. And clearly it's a holiday plane. So probably the staff is maybe even more fun than if I were to fly to Lahore or New York, probably, because they know that basically everybody in the flight is going on holidays. But yeah, totally recommend it. Totally recommend it.
That's good.
I would not.
How was the food?
It was really good. I remember more the food on the way back. For some reason, I didn't take notes of the food on the way in. But the one thing that I remember, because I had it in both ways, I asked for a little bit of white wine, and they give you a can. You know one of these canned coffee that you get in Japan? So it's the same exact type of can, only they're Sauvignon Blancs. It was like when they gave me that, I'm like, I didn't ask for canned coffee. Oh, that's Sauvignon Blanc. You can find them actually in Tesco's here in the UK. So it's not something just that version does, but it goes well with the entire experience. That's what I'm saying, So I liked it. For the price, I would totally do that again. What else? Yeah, we were late in the end because the jet bridge was broken, or to say it differently, the jet bridge had codependency issues, and we wouldn't let go of the plane. So we waited for a fix for quite a while. But anyway, for such a long flight, anyway, you would take up the time in flight. So it was fine. For some reason, I noted that because I'm like you, I'm watching the moving map. The almost constant ground speed for the whole time was 787 kilometers per hour. So are they doing that on purpose because we're in Dreamliner?
Yeah, that's some branding right there.
Yeah, but does that mean that if you fly a 330, you're going 330 kilometers per hour? I don't know. The other thing, and I told you, I sent you the pictures. I was obviously window seats, just at the very beginning of the front of the wing. So I could see the entire wing and the engine. The wing had a lot of scrapped paint. And I was obviously thinking about the Qatar Airbus story. I was like, the Virgin should totally sue Boeing for $1 billion, say that bad paint is a problem. Anyway, very nice flight. The head of cabin, wow, my God, she was stunning. She was like probably as tall as me, had worked for Virgin for like 20 years or something. She was really good. She came to thank me because, again, gold. It's really fun to have this kind of like, you've been a loyal customer, but actually I've never been, and I get all these little things as a loyal customer. I'm like, well, so I pretend I am, obviously. We talked for about 20 minutes because, I just chatted away and asked a few questions as well. And she was super cool. And she came like 2 hours before landing. And because clearly she was mostly in the upper cabin. So yeah, really, really good. Look, basically, my thoughts of Virgin is like, you can see, and again, maybe you're going to tell me I'm all wrong, but every single touch point, you can see basically all the choices the brand made.
Yeah.
And it probably from the foundational one, which obviously red is the most obvious of them all, but everything is still there. That rippled through time to now. Everything I had imagined, how the brand projects itself, how they tell their story about being Virgin Atlantic and being a bit cool and hip. Everything that I experienced was that. And it's not only my mind making it up. It was really from the way the interaction happened on the ground or in the flight, from the way everything was presented, from the safety video, which is like a 1970s comic kind of. It's really weird, by the way. But all this makes, I don't know, it's very cohesive, but you can see where it comes from. I don't remember when it was, when Virgin Atlantic was set up, but you can feel what it always been and that still ripples today and what it wants to be. It works really well, man. It's very clear. I liked it. And obviously the red versus blue is so evident. Yeah. They had to not be BA.
Well, it was funny you said, because I was just going to say it was always supposed to be a counterbalance to BA.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Like when you say cocktail bar, this is, I've it's funny that I restarted flying, but we restarted recording. Basically, I've done three. I've done JetBlue, Emirates, and Virgin. So two of the three were new experiences for me. And JetBlue was and the reason I didn't talk a lot about Emirates, coming back to the point I made a minute ago, is that Emirates is like this comfy chair. I've done it so many times, and including so many times, I'm sorry guys, so many times in first that it's like I know it by heart. I know everything. I do it with my eyes closed, which probably explains why I don't remember me arriving in Dubai last time, because it's so familiar to me that I know exactly how the product should be, and works. Whereas the two others were not. And so JetBlue for me felt like the edgy silent disco, and Virgin is clearly the cocktail bar. That's exactly what I thought the term you used. And BA is the contemporary London office, maybe Canary Wharf office, but you know what I mean, the London City office.
I think that's as generous as you can be with that.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm too generous because some of it, but you know what I mean? It's like more corporate-y, more like, the blue, it's a dark blue as well, so it shows like quiet, and it's clear, I mean, you know that, it's clear Virgin had not to be BA, so they went the total opposite way, including the little decals they have, the paint of the names of each of their aircraft with everything. Everything is the contrast of BA, and yeah, it works. Honestly, it works. It's like if another analogy, I'm bad analogy, but maybe if BA is a Mercedes estate, Virgin is the MG Sports. You know what I mean? It's like the rocky, fun, let's have some speed and some rock and roll while we do it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember even in the 90s when you would board a BA flight, you would have classical music.
There you go, classical music. Yeah.
And in like 1996, 1997, you board a Virgin flight and you would have, Funk Star Deluxe and right. ATB and, just not over the top EDM, but just what you would hear in a cocktail bar.
Yeah, that's exactly that. I felt like in a cocktail bar.
And it's not everybody's cup of tea. The sort of the cheeky is not the right word, but the familiar tone of the flight of the cabin crew, and is very appealing to a certain demographic, and really a turnoff to another. And
I get it. You remember that's what I said about JetBlue as well. Probably the thing I will give to, again, I haven't flown them. You flew them for years, but Virgin is that they were probably a bit ahead of their time, because now this casualness in the interactions, you see it in other brands. Of course, JetBlue is the most obvious because it's close-ish to what Virgin has been doing. But even on Middle Eastern carriers, whatever, when you see a younger staff that is a bit more casual, or at least understand that you want Alex or I want Paul to be more casual and not be like super, dry. Pardon me, because I just told them that everybody that doesn't want casual is dry. This is not maybe. Anyway, but they were ahead of the time, because now it's something that I see more common, having a bit of more casualness, more, less deference. It doesn't mean that they don't respect you or they don't, but maybe they were ahead of the time, but yeah, it works. At least it works for me. This is why I said JetBlue worked for me, but I said that some people maybe wanted an expensive wine list and they wanted like to be treated, spoken to differently. It's really what you're looking for in the experience. And for me, Virgin for that probably matches closely who I am, as in what I see. It's a bit, especially it's a holiday. But even if it's not a holiday, I don't want to have like, sir, I'm like, oh my God, just come, Paul.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Yeah. No, really, man, it's great. So let's go to the landing, and then we'll switch topics a bit so we can go back to it afterwards. So landing at UVF, which is the airport of today as well. I say as well because I'm going to mix both airports. There's another airport on the island, and since we're probably never going to go ever, I'm going to talk about both of them. So the thing with these kind of flights, a bit like the Maldives, all these islands, these far-flung islands, is like sea, an island. There's nothing for like so long, and there's an island. The island turned out to be Martinique. We were flying north of St Lucia, so Martinique, which is a French island, which is a sister island, basically, because they resemble each other, of course, a lot, because you can see even from each other, you can, in a clear day, you can actually spot each from land. So we go on the west side of St Lucia to arrive to the south of St Lucia, where the airport is. And thank God I was on the left side, so I could see all the island whilst we were going on the final bits of the flight. And, it's luxurious with these peaks. It's the island is kind of volcanic, both in its DNA, but also its appearance, right? It's beautiful, of course, and it evokes these, I want to be on holidays. It's exactly what I want. And I look at this and I see beaches and you see all the cities are obviously clustered on the cliffs near the sea, because there's a lot of areas in the island where there's no space to build anything else, right? And then you turn at the end of the island, so the south of the island, the plane turns, there's 2 pitons, they call that pitons, and then, which is always the case when you land, suddenly it seems that everything goes faster and faster and faster and faster, and you see some houses, multicolored houses, green, and boom, a runway. And I couldn't make out because, of course, being an av geek, I had seen the layout of the runway. There's the old runway that is like at a 45-degree angle. It's still kind of there. You can see it. It's not, there's no asphalt, there's no tarmac on it, but you can still see that it could be used one day. I think that was a military runway, but I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, in one of these airports, tiny, obviously, it's a tiny, there's not a lot of people. It's a holiday destination. So you land, and then there was another aircraft. The only other aircraft was BA from Gatwick, who had arrived 2 or 3 hours earlier, probably. They were about to embark people from the way back. I think BA flies twice a day to St Lucia during the high season, which we're into, and Virgin once a day. And so stairs, obviously, there's no jet bridge or whatever. And you walk. The only thing that was a bit... they told us repeatedly, do not take pictures until you leave the terminal. You know how it is. Sometimes, I don't know if it's security reasons or whatever, but I really wanted to take pictures, not only of the aircraft, which I took, obviously, but when you walk for a good 5-6 minutes under basically on the apron, and you see the runway which you just landed on, and behind that there's like flush green and a little peak, and at the very end you see the sea. And because the light, we're near the equator, the light at the end of the day, I don't know, it gives that a different green hue and blue hue. It felt like I was on a movie set. It felt like I was on a Sergio Leone movie set. It looked really, and there was one cart that was abandoned, just left out next to the runway. So you had nothing. You had a runway, but from the viewpoint of being on the terminal, you could see just the runway, that cart, nothing in the sea. And it looked really, and the sea is not that close actually, but it was so bright that day. And with that man.
You wanted to take a picture more
People
than
would say, this is an airport that sucks because it's small and it's complicated and it's too small and it's... but for me, that is the kind of thing I want to remember, is that you don't see that at Heathrow or at Dubai, or you see they're nice in their own way, but this is really fun. I loved it, man. I just, that site alone, walking for a few minutes there, was really fantastic. So then the COVID experience, because they had built... So instead of going directly into the terminal, they have built a temporary tent, which is basically a COVID center. So you have QQQ, everybody with masks, obviously, and you have a lot of aeration, ventilators and some ACs and whatever. So it's like long temporary, not temporary for 2 weeks, but it's been built knowing that it would last for quite a while. And so you queue quite a long time. I mean, it's fine because they check every single document. So they don't, even though you had those checked, whatever documents you had those checked at departure, they still do it there. So you have booth, and they even have like COVID test centers. So if somebody has symptoms, I guess they are being told to go to do a test, probably just right there. I don't know, but I didn't have to do that. The reason is that they give you at the end of the process, which took a good 25 minutes from the queuing to the very nice people, by the way, but they give you like a wristband. It's at St Lucia, and it's a plastic wristband, so you cannot take it away, and you have to keep it the whole time you're in St Lucia. I mean, I say that hotels are considered as COVID secure places, so they will never check that bracelet, that wristband. But if you were to go out, which I did, and try to enter any place, a bar or whatever, you would have to have this because it's a proof that you double jet, basically.
Nice. That's clever.
Yeah, it's every country had to find a way to do something. And yeah, well, I mean, that was fun. And then from that COVID terminal, I would call it.
Terminal COVID, yeah.
You walk a little bit and you enter the actual terminal, you clear immigration, which is, like 5 booths. And it's, you have like family lane and all the foreigners. And they have one booth for the locals, the nationals. It's okay. It takes not that long. People are kind. It's you can see the airport is really old and small. And you have, funnily enough, on the walls, you have pictures of what the airport could look like in a few years in the future. Just that I Googled it, and it's just an image. They never actually invested any money. So it's just like a kind of a far-flung promise of what in the future. It's not, unlike Maldives, Malé, when they are building it, that they just like, it could, you look at the picture because you have to wait for immigration. And I was looking at the picture. Wow, that looks like a really modern, super.
Yeah. It's just a picture of a random airport.
Yeah, but it's not exactly. So I hope for them to get, but they don't, I'm not even sure they need it because again, it's small and tiny. And then I didn't get to really experience the arrivals because my resort had their own lounge, which as soon as you clear immigration, you get your luggage. I had checked luggage, and I take a left, and I was in a lounge, arrival lounge by the resort I was in. So I wasn't able to check the rest. I'll tell a bit of the story for the return flight, but there was, and yeah, I could have a drink waiting for the drive to take me. So really, 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 really nice. Honestly, it was. I enjoyed that experience, both with Virgin, the airport. I get it. My friend who was there with me, Paolo, because last episode I mentioned 2 Paolos. Paolo, my friend who was already in St Lucia and waiting for me at for us actually at the resort, hated that airport. But that's the difference maybe between a nav geek
and a normal person. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and on the way to the resort, we passed by the other airport. I'll come to that a bit later. Let me talk just a little bit of the island. I know, guys, I'm talking a lot. It's only me. There's something, and I saw it when we were landing. So when we were around the island. The funny bit about the Caribbean islands is that on one side you have the Atlantic, and the other side is the Caribbean, right? So you have the clear colors of the Caribbean Sea and the dark menacing blue of the Atlantic on the other side. It's kind of, and what the hotel I was in had each side. Of course, we were swimming and everything was happening on the Caribbean side. But every morning when I was running, so the first day I arrive and I say I'm going to do a run, and for some reason I don't know why, I go in the gym and I step on the treadmill. I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm in the Caribbean and I'm surfing on a treadmill. So I got out the hotel and they looked at me, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to leave the hotel. And I ran across to see the Atlantic, and it's really different. Atlantic a bit more, again, menacing, furious, active, and then the Caribbean quiet. What you expect, it's a beautiful place. Look, let's do a cut here, and I'll go back to. I'm gonna tease it. A helicopter flight. So Well, let's take a break to let you a little bit talk. I want to ask you. So first I want to thank you. I want to thank you for Attaché Travel because your Athens episode just went out and you did justice.
I hope so. Well, we couldn't have done it without you. I mean, you were instrumental in that episode coming together. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. A great city. I really enjoyed my time there. Really enjoyed it.
I really liked, of course, I mean, we talked a lot about it, so I could see hints of what I talked to you about in the end result. But without me, remove that. You got the city pretty well. I think it's you understood the city. Yeah, I like it. It's really a great episode. I really enjoyed it a lot, especially you were venturing into the food market.
That market was amazing with Carolina. Oh gosh, what a place, what an experience. So yeah, no, I'm glad. It's important to me that we accurately represent a city and not just brush over the more challenging aspects of it.
I mean, I know I always trust you, and I trusted you on this one. I'm really sad that I couldn't be there with you. It just was a weekend before my flight to St Lucia, and I just didn't want to take the chance to get COVID because I was supposed to have tests and everything. You know, the usual. Now that it's, thank God, more and more countries are removing these tests and everything, but you know, it was a risk I wasn't ready to take. But yeah, and I will say something. You, at least, I mean, Greg filmed. So I was there in spirit with you because we had talked. But I'm also there in the episode because you actually filmed the entrance of my flat.
No.
I'm not going to reveal now on record where it is because I don't want stalkers when I go to Athens to know where it is, but it is there. I'll tell you after we end the show, but yeah, I'm looking at the episode yesterday night and I'm like, this is the entrance of my flat.
Funny. Well, I tell you what, I mean, we went to that neighborhood on your recommendation and we went back and back and back and back because it was, I think, my favorite part of Athens that we visited.
Exarchia, it's called Exarchia.
Well, I spent the whole time mispronouncing it then. So
you actually don't pronounce it during the episode. I think you.
I think I tried to avoid having to pronounce many of the words.
I also like the description of the airport. We did it, of course, one day. But you mentioned the stray dogs, right? So it's true that I think it was
CNN. I think
that when the new airport opened, I think it was 2001 or something like that. They said they headlined the end of stray dogs welcoming you to Athens, because the old airport, which was at the south of Athens, I have these memories as a kid, man. It's just, believe it or not, it had been built by Aerosptiale, you know, the hero of TWA terminal, but it was just overcrowded and whatever. New airport has less character, but it's
very efficient. I enjoyed our experience there.
So since I just mentioned, you don't have to comment. You don't have to do it, Alex. But I just mentioned an influencer of Travel U, and I mentioned that when I was I've been lucky to visit places like Tulum, which became like a influencer's paradise now. Before, when it was empty, it was more than 20 years ago, or Costa Rica, which also is fast becoming another influencer paradise that also was able to live without all the thing. You had mentioned in one of your Instagram stories influencers in Dubai. Are you okay to talk about it for like 30 seconds? I wanted to understand what the hell happened.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was...
We don't have a love for influencers, by the way.
I don't. At all. I think it's horrendous. I'm amazed I haven't told the story other than on Instagram. As on the way back from the Maldives, we stopped in Dubai, like I said, I think in the last episode of the episode before. And one of the things we did was go out into the desert about an hour and a half south and to a nature reserve, which has a sort of resort built into it. It was lovely. You've been there, right?
Yeah, I think me and your brother Andrew recommended it to you, I think. Both Al Mahad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've been in 2010, so a long time ago. But yeah, it's really nice.
It's actually owned or was owned by Emirates.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was started by Emirates, and then the UAE government gave them 250 acres of land, I think, to expand into. Anyway, the demographic there was either very old Americans or Western Europeans, not many Brits at all, or young influencers from all over the world. And when I say influencers, I'm using that term very broadly. There are people who have made a career out of being an influencer. After I did a little bit of digging, it just turned out that these were narcissistic, wealthy people. Well, for the most part, these
are different.
Well, I think the Venn diagram is a fairly healthy overlap, but I'd thought we'd shamed a lot of this behavior out of people and just made it so socially repugnant that people had stopped. I was so wrong and infuriated. I mean, selfie sticks, which I haven't seen in a long time, but we're everywhere. I saw we went on a camel ride because that's what you do in these type of things, and they take you out into the empty quarter, into the desert, which is lovely, and you have sunset, and there's a guy with champagne and all that stuff. I mean, I've been on a camel loads of times. It wasn't new for me, but it's I love the desert. I love being out there, especially at that time of day. And there was a little guy set up with a drinks tray. When you got there, it was all very kind of, British Empire, that type of thing.
Yeah. This is a very good description. It's how I remember it as well.
It was nice, and you go there, but the guy got clocked in the face by a selfie stick. There was a lot of wildlife. It was a nature reserve. I watched people feeding these gazelles that were reasonably brave. They weren't tame, but they were brave, despite the ranger saying, "You are literally killing them by feeding them," these gazelles. And I watched a guy trying to take a picture of this fairly large lizard in the desert. And then when it got scared, he chased it, and then it burrowed in, and he was kicking at the sand to try and get this thing to reemerge so he could take his stupid picture. People, I had my food brought to me, this beautiful dish of, I can't remember specifically. Someone shoved me out of the way to take a picture of my food.
No, really?
Yeah. And I'm forgetting something. Oh, there was, looking on Instagram to see if these people would show up while we were there. There are signs all over the resort to the point of being conspicuous in their presence. No drones, no drones, no drones, no drones, for security reasons and for the wildlife and privacy and all that. Exactly. There was a guy who was there with us at the time who posted a picture on Instagram of himself from a drone at the resort, and you could see him holding the controller, and there was no other way he could have got the vantage point. And I was like, you people, just that you don't think the rules apply to you. You're not. It was, and there are other stories. I don't need to get into all of them now, but it was so infuriating. Of course I want people to create content and share their experiences, but it was so infuriating.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
You can do, I don't know. We're going to start giving lessons on how to create content, but I mean, it's sad. It's sad because it kind of puts a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth about some of the places you visit.
It's unfortunately, it's one of the enduring memories from that.
Yeah, of course, because it sticks with you when you have, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we could comment forever, but it's sad. It's especially sad.
It was just a total...
Just respect other people. I mean, I'm okay. I get it where people are chasing the elusive, unique picture that only them will have, which turns out to be impossible. I remember working with it was in Singapore, with one of the, doesn't matter, but basically a building, an attraction, as in it's not a tourist attraction, but people visit it. And they were telling me the problem we have is that we need to kind of fight in an era where everybody wants that unique picture that only them will have. And the thing is, once one have it, they're not interested anymore. So they would literally come to that place, which is a place of knowledge, and just take a picture and leave because of
just to show that you've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the problem is at some point that becomes passé because a lot of people have taken the picture there and it's not interesting anymore, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, that elusive chase for something that nobody else has done. I mean, I get it on one hand because that's what we do as explorers, but not just to take a picture. You explore because you want to learn something about yourself, about the others, about nature, whatever. Anyway.
I could go on, but I won't because it'll
just
put
me too.
And
this is why sometimes, and then we'll move on. But this is why sometimes I understand some airlines having some stops on some influencers as well, taking pictures or filming content where they're in a plane because maybe other passengers don't want to be filmed. Because outside, it depends on the laws in the country. Japan is very strict, for instance. The assumption in the UK is that if you're out, people can take a picture or film you because you're out, you're in public space. But in a flight, you could argue that, even though sometimes we'd like to take a nice picture of not only outside, but maybe of, I don't know, some of the features of an aircraft, I get it why they prevent them.
I do too. Especially when you're disrupting somebody else's experience. And there's a great Instagram account called Influencers in the Wild.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also sad.
It is sad. I'm sure it's because I'm getting old, but I just have so little patience for that.
Yeah. What can I tell you? But on the plus side, there's a lot of content creators, you included obviously, that are very respectful, that try to do other stuff. We mentioned last time, so again, let's mention him. Joe Allen, the way he does his vignettes about the places he visits is also very respectful. He gets it, right? You can do that without being a dick, basically. You can have like very nice content, interesting content, but probably it's also linked, maybe, that's going to be very judgmental, I'm going to say, but it's like the narcissism you mentioned. There are people that talk about what they see,
that's the difference, isn't it? I mean, I look at somebody like Sam Choi, the legendary aviation photographer and now vlogger and consultant and all that stuff. His joy is like, look at this airplane and look at this weird airline I'm flying on, and isn't this cool, and look at the pilots and look at this, and it's not like, look at me. I think and there's something like infectious about his enthusiasm, because he's always introducing the flight crew and all that, and they're beaming. They're just happy to be involved. Can you hear them desecrating the trees outside?
No, I can't.
Oh, good.
Look, guys, I have an echo maybe because Alex still can't hear it. I don't know how it's going to be in the edit recorded, but we're not going to do that one again. So
maybe I just have a permanent echo. I woke up with one, and that's how I experienced life now.
You know what? I realized 2 weeks ago that it's not fun, but it's okay. But I have a hearing loss actually on my left ear. I don't hear bass anymore in my left ear. And I've never been like, that's super weird. Lots of heavy music all the time, whatever. Even when I was young, also because when I was young, again, we had a Walkman. We didn't have like these powerful headphones that you currently have. But I think I have a slight hearing loss. I thought I had an issue with my headphones. It's like, my headphones are not working correctly.
You take them off, you're like, oh no.
It's okay, because especially when you hear like in stereo, your mind kind of, it's like eyes,
the software figures it out.
But I need to apparently it could be simply temporary. It happens that especially bass, so it's not the high, it's the low frequencies or whatever. It could be temporary, but it was like, why can I not hear the bass? And oh my God. Anyway, I don't know why I said that. I forgot the thread. So let's go from one catastrophe to another. Boeing. My ear to Boeing. So catastrophe is a bit of a big word, but there's so many stories about Boeing. Let's not maybe go forever, but I don't know. Which one? Which one do you want to talk about? The 777X, which is super delayed again?
Yeah. Again, because they just had their quarterly earnings call, and among just a bunch of not great news, one of them was the first flight. No, they're already flying. The production release of the 777X is now 2025, and they've completely halted production.
That's what is kind of means that there's an issue somewhere.
I think the euphemism they used was something about stringent FAA oversight. And is it oh gosh, I can't remember the fantastic aviation journalist or I think she's CNBC transportation correspondent, but she's obviously an AV geek. Leslie Joseph. Her analysis of CEO speak is just so good. And what she basically said is, without actually saying it out loud, is the FAA have clearly found something. The FAA are looking at Boeing far more aggressively than they have in the past, on the back of the MAX debacle or tragedy, we should really say. And they have found something significant enough to say, shut it down, which is not good.
No, it's not good. I mean, I think the first I might have my timeline wrong, but I think because we talked about it, obviously we've been around the 777X was first announced for 2020, then 2021, then 2023, now 2025. Some airlines must be pissed because they kind of so COVID kind of changed a bit the game because now they're probably happy that it's not coming too early because they might not need it. Though with the recovery of travel we're seeing, at some point they might need it maybe faster than they think. But it's not good news for.
I mean, the A380 was obviously delayed, but it wasn't this delayed.
Yeah, I don't think so. No, I think it was only 4 years.
And I know that Cathay have been very vocal about this delay. Well, maybe not so much anymore because what the hell are they going to do with them?
No, I was about to say Emirates is because Emirates needs to fade out the 380 within the next 5 to 10 years, depending on the age of the aircraft. So the 777X is their not lifeline. I'm exaggerating, but that's the biggest aircraft there will be. So they will. So again, maybe COVID. Less flying can help, but it's still bad news for Boeing.
It really is.
It seems that they had issues with the Dreamliners. The
ongoing issues with the Dreamliners.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not on the same earning call. The Kowloon, the CEO, said that they lost what was it, almost $700 million out of refitting the two Air Force Ones, the 7. Is it one or two?
Yeah.
I think it's two. The 748s. I think he even said Boeing should have not agreed with the terms of Trump.
And I think obviously they shouldn't have done that at all. When you're negotiating an aircraft order on Twitter, that's never going to go well. But I think also they've said that the wiring guidelines from the Air Force are slowing things down. And it's just, I don't think I ever mentioned this because we weren't recording when I read it, but I read Ben Rich, who was the second head of Lockheed Skunk Works after the legendary Kelly Johnson, who was father of the U-2 and Blackbird. Ben Rich took over after Kelly Johnson retired, and his book is absolutely fascinating. It came out like 1995 or something like that. It's worth. You can find it on Amazon easily. It is so interesting about not just aircraft development, and then you have all of these other voices, pilots and military people that worked with the Skunk Works and all of that. But the way that he describes working on government contracts in the U.S. is this whole debacle with the Air Force One replacements does not surprise me in the slightest. In fact, the entire conclusion of the book, 2 chapters, is basically, this is what's so bad, and God, we would save so much time, energy, money, and maybe even lives if we did it this way. So it doesn't surprise me in the slightest when I read that there's a sort of military specification process that's totally unnecessary.
I think one of the reasons why I think the two 748s were also not built for, they had been bought by another airline that went bust or something, so they were unused, and so it's a refit.
Yeah, they had to go back and did they? I wonder, did they build the original Air Force Ones from? Because it's a different military designation, isn't it?
I'm not sure,
and
I haven't looked into it.
It's an interesting one. Because it's a VC-25, isn't it? It's the military designation, not a 747. Just like it's a KC-17.
I use 748 just
because that's what it is. It's just like
shorthand. Talking about it, have you seen that there's also, since we're talking about 748s, there's one that has just been discarded by Saudi Arabia. It had been bought by a prince, one of the princes, I wouldn't know which one it was because I just read it in passing on Twitter, who died after making the order, and nobody else in the royal family wants it. So you have a brand new VVIP 748. I think it only flown like 12,000 miles or something, like nothing. And it's already been discarded because no one wouldn't take it. So since we're just talking with Alex about negotiating terms on Twitter, Boeing, we're going to negotiate $1 for VVIP 748. And please include, because we're nice people, maybe 20 years of fuel. And then
please,
we'll find the pilots.
It's funny. There were when my dad and I went to the Boeing factory years and years ago, they were building on the line what was one of the private ones. Yeah, there were 8 ordered and delivered private ones.
Imagine a 748 private.
Yeah,
it's not a Gulfstream.
Yeah, I mean, but it's really funny because speaking of the 747, my youngest brother sent me a message that his favorite person in the whole world, Alton Brown, the food scientist, he was at SFO and he posted a thing on Instagram of a Lufthansa 748, and he said it was basically a love letter to the 747, and I panicked a little bit because he's like, who's still flying them? And I went and looked, and if I want to fly a 748, it's a little easier because Lufthansa still have quite a few of them, and Air China.
If they fly them, but I'm not sure they're.
No, they're flying one at the moment. If I want to fly a 747-400, hard.
Yeah.
And I want to because I didn't know, I don't think any of us knew, that when I last flew on it, it'd be anywhere near my last one. So Air China, because I wrote this down, Air China, Air India, Asiana have one, Iraqi Airways, Lufthansa, Mahan Air in Iran, and then some, I think, soon to be, if not already defunct, Russian airlines, and that's it.
But I think you just mentioned Asiana. Asiana and Korean are supposed to be merged, so probably that won't survive because they will keep only the 748s.
I need at least one more. I think Lufthansa is my bet.
Let's go to Iran, man. Mahan Air.
Iran is still very high on my list.
Yeah, me too. That's this COVID thing has kind of disrupted all the best laid plans, at least in our heads. And now I'm like the backlog of stuff that I wanted to. Yeah, but I agree with you. I have the very fond memory of flying. We discussed this about this in our recording. Flying Thai, was it from Bangkok to Singapore? No, I'm not sure. Bangkok to Hong Kong, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it was a 747. I told you 400, and I told you that I was in the nose with the projector. The thing with the 3 different colors projecting on the front, and that the crew was as old as the aircraft, and I loved that experience. I don't know if I've flown a 744 since then, but might have been. If that proves to be the last time I've flown one, the fact that it was also old spec, both the seats and everything inside, and the crew, and I don't say that negatively because they were super cool, but they were clearly all in their 60s. It would have been a proper send off for me to say, okay, I've flown a early spec, not only the 744, but also a 744 frozen in time from the 60s.
Glorious.
Yeah, man, I know. Little bit on Boeing still, but it was a story that created a wild speculation of Boeing having issues of being hacked, but it turned out not to be any of this. It was the 777 landing in Charles de Gaulle, where we heard the recording, and you could hear the pilots, the co-pilot, the pilot panting, seemingly fighting with the aircraft veering left from the runway, and it was of course, wild speculation. What happened? So what happened after?
They were the plane's not responding to the controls. Excuse me. They were drifting, and it turns out what they were doing is fighting against each other.
How, man? I think the co-pilot was the pilot flying, and the captain was the pilot monitoring, right? Yeah. That's
and they were going against each other, which should never, ever happen, ever, under any circumstances. And they were fighting against each other and wondering why the plane wasn't responding. And the French or the European EASA, European Aviation Safety Administration, I think might have just made that up, put out this very matter-of-fact 2 or 3 sentences yesterday or the day before, basically saying the plane did what it was supposed to do, and second by second, here's the input, here's how the plane responded, and then it sort of you read it and you go, that sounds like everything.
And you see the chart, and the chart clearly of the inputs go completely
diverge
opposite.
Completely, yeah. so I can't remember what initially caused the pilot flying to go, the plane isn't doing what I wanted it to do. And then the captain grabbing the controls and correcting, I think, an overcorrection that the pilot flying, the first officer had made. And then they're just battling against each other. How they didn't look across and go, he's also touching the controls.
Yeah, and simply, communicating. Like telling each other what they were trying to do, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. It's easy to say.
There was a lot of...
I have one question for, maybe but at least for, again, our listeners, is that it seems to me that on Airbus, this is not an Airbus versus Boeing thing, that when, so joysticks, right? Oh, I call it joysticks, but when there's different inputs on both, there's an alert of dual inputs appearing. So the Airbus tells you, you're not doing the same thing, watch out. I was kind of sure that Boeing would have a feature like that tells you, guys, you're not going the same direction, I guess, or something. I don't know. It's not a shade on Boeing. I'm just saying that something really, a lack of communication, and what's the name? Crew Resource Management, CRM, they didn't talk to each other. I don't know what, something happened clearly, right?
Yeah, it sounds like they disconnected the autopilot while they were in instrument conditions. So there's no visibility, and then they're talking about spatial awareness. But it does seem like a corporate culture thing, because it would not be the first time at Air France this has happened.
Well, last time was a real disaster. It was a 447, right? When the co-pilot, I think, was pulling up the whole time while the plane was a free fall. They had space. They didn't realize, they didn't trust the readings. But there were 3 in the cockpit, because the one that was in rest came back, and I think he was the oldest with the most, and he stayed in behind the 2 that were flying the aircraft, and they were trying to understand what was happening. But the thing that they missed is that one, I think it was the youngest, so maybe it could be. You never know. In a panic situation, you don't know what the hell is happening to the plane. But he was pulling the aircraft, the nose up, where actually to gain speed should have been going down. And the captain, you hear that in the, don't do it because it's really not fun, but the captain realized that too late. Like, oh man, you should have gone down. But that's by the time they realize that they're already too low. But anyway, again, communication.
The frightening thing is that reading this thing from the, BEA,
Bureau Enquête Accident, which is the French equivalent of the NTSB.
There we go. Okay, so they said that the control columns were desynchronized for 14 seconds due to opposing forces. The captain held the control column in a slightly nose-down position, while the co-pilot made several more pronounced nose-up inputs. And this is when they were on final.
Oh, final, yeah, and I think in the recording it's in French, because the both Tower and the plane, the pilots speak French. But I think ATC is kind of saying, you're veering left, guys, or something. Yeah. Like, there's clearly, they do the go around and everything is fine. But it's true that just after that happened, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, there was wild speculation, because he was like, the controls have an issue. Oh, the Russians have hacked the aircraft, or whatever. And you're
there's a problem with the 777. But I mean, even in this, they say no failure warning was activated and no anomaly was observed with the airplane, which is a very nice way of saying, pilots effed up this one, seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so that one is not on Boeing, which is good news, because that would have been a litany of more stuff on Boeing. Let's go to a little bit of, unless there's another story of Boeing that...
Oh God, probably. No, I can't think of one, but I'm sure we'll have one by next time we record.
A few feedbacks from, thank you to Steve Tao at Mileage Runner on Twitter, because he told us he thanked us and you especially for your description of your Mali experience. He said that, and that's an omission from us, he flew with Maldivian. So we said that Trans-Maldivian Airlines was the only, but there's Maldivian, which is, they have, I think, Dash 8s and Twin Otters. So you can also fly a seaplane with another. I think
they have A320s too.
Yeah, so they have a 320 and 21, and they also are ordering 330s. So it means, because there are 320s, so I think there's one 320 that goes to India and back or something. So there's also international, but there is a few, I mean, at least 5, maybe I'm wrong. There's a few like concrete runways on these islands. It's not only Mali. Mali is, of course, the international one. There's others that are also called international because I think at the very north of the atolls, there's one, and that's probably where the Maldivian goes to India.
There's a few. When I was flying to our resort, there was a couple of paved runways that you could see.
Oh.
So it's next time.
So I just said they have Dash 8s and Twin Otters. Alex, what is your favorite noise, a Dash 8 or a Twin Otter? For me, it's clear. Twin Otter. I hate the Dash 8.
The Dash 8 is I have a hankering to fly on a Dash 8 at the moment. I don't know why. I want to go on a ATR 42 or a Dash 8.
So I don't know. In a Twin Otter, the sound, it's very loud, but it sounds appropriate. In a Dash 8, for me, it's too loud. But maybe I'm bad AV geek when I say that. So thank you, Steve, for actually telling us that there is indeed like another airline. So it's not the only choice of seaplanes. And I think the terminal of Maldivian is literally just next. I mean, Mali airport is not like Dubai, so it's literally next door to where you flew and I flew from. By the way, guys, I didn't mention it last time. If you want to hear Mali 5 years ago, was it? It's episode 73. We're 114, so wow, we're still going ahead. And Steve, at the same time, mentioned something very, so still on Twitter, very interesting. He said that he flew there to the Maldives with Qatar, and then added, so weird to see all the white livery on the borrowed Cathay planes. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, were those like 777ERs or 330s? Because I had assumed that Cathay had parked a lot of their fleet, but didn't either sell them or discard them yet. Only the very old cargo planes, that's it. And he replied that Qatar had the 2 Cathays 777ERs, along with our measly 320, so probably he was flying a 320, arriving in Mali within an hour of each other. So I didn't realize that Qatar needed first aircrafts that are not Qatar.
I wonder if this is exactly,
right? But yeah, interesting that I didn't realize that Cathay was, I don't know how it works. Was it a lease or a loan or whatever, but it's interesting. And the fact that they had white liveries mean that they also took the time to kind of remove the paint.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems more, I don't know. So interesting. Thank you, Steve, for that. We didn't know about this. And if you guys know more about Cathay aircrafts around the world, that Alex and I could fly without flying Cathay, because sadly we can't really. I mean, we can't. Have you seen that Hong Kong is open for arrivals for foreigners now, but you're treated as a local. So it's still 200 days of quarantine or something. No, I'm kidding. But you can, whereas before you couldn't. So you could go, but I think it's 21 days still. You could go, Alex, but yeah, I know. So yeah, guys, if you know of any other Cathay Pacific aircraft currently on loan by other airlines, tell us, because that could be a way for us to sustain our addiction of Cathay without flying Cathay, but actually being in the Cathay metal. By the way, Hong Kong in 2022, 72 airline bans. They keep banning airlines. That's the thing. I mean, why would you? Even if you can go because you have 21 days, maybe your aircraft will not go because it's banned.
Yeah.
It's sad. I mean, anyway. Another tidbit here still about Cathay. I read that. I don't remember where I read that. I have just the title here. Hong Kong Cathay staff spent the equivalent of 200 years in COVID quarantine.
What a waste of man hours.
So a few reviews. First, we're number 1 in Chile now. Thank you, Chilean listeners. I mean, we keep having these countries. I've been to Chile only once in 2011. Hello, guys. Hello, Santiago. Hello, the rest. Bring us some nice wine, please. We're number 1 in Cyprus as well. We've been in the past, but that was nice. And we got this review that was exactly a day before we released the last episode. So the 5th of April was that review, and I didn't see it in time to mention it in the last episode, but I'm going to read it. I know it's a bit self-serving when we read good reviews about ourselves, but it's really nice. It's by Tim Wheeler in the US, 5 stars. The title is I Need More, in parentheses, scratches neck like a junkie. I'm a fellow hell traveler and geek here who has been mostly grounded since COVID. I found this podcast during lockdown and was immediately hooked. It was a relief to find I am not the only one who enjoys the technical journey as much as the destination. On sunny summer days living under a flight path, I have and always will look up when I hear the growl of engines. I will shield my eyes from the sun, smile and point with satisfaction as I accurately call out the make, model and airline.
Poetry.
For 2 years, my skies were nearly silent. The doors to exotic mysteries were closed and a comforting ability to escape without notice was ripped away from us by a viral enemy. A void was left at my core. Layovers is very bingeable. I think it's the first time I heard that. I know that people were listening back to all of it. It's bingeable. So we're a Netflix series now. Layover is a very bingeable show with satisfyingly long episodes. So people like our 2 hours thing. Where is it now? I lost my train of long episodes. And AvGeek relatable subject matter has helped fill that void. With the world opening up again and the fragility of our beloved flight path so painfully burned fresh into our minds, it is a comfort knowing that Alex and Paul are out there somewhere, filling those empty business class seats for us. Your humble fan, Tim from New York.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, Tim, thank you. Beautiful. It's got me all misty.
And he actually wrote on Twitter at Mr. Tim Wheeler. I'm guessing you're the same Tim because you have exactly the same name. When we released the last episode, he said, perfect timing, something to listen to whilst all these flights are delayed at JFK. First, we're happy to oblige. I didn't know that there were also delays at JFK. But Tim, thank you so much. That's one of the nicest reviews we ever had.
True. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks. Beautiful.
A few other Trent. I think I mentioned him last time already. Another great episode, especially. So Trent Juventus on Twitter. Trentus Juventus, pardon me, on Twitter. Another great episode, especially loved hearing about the Maldives. Am I crazy to think that 2 hours of podcast is not enough? Could listen all day.
Yes, that does make you crazy.
Greg McCormick, said that he had a 3-hour drives and he was really happy to listen to us whilst he was doing 3 hours. So, Craig, 3 hours is also longer than our 2 hour episodes. So maybe you also want longer. The thing is that Craig insists that we should do a video live stream. Craig, you cannot watch a video live stream whilst you are driving. Make a choice. Make a choice. No video yet. Dan Cavan Legal really enjoyed listening to the latest episode of Layovers. Alex's stories of flying in the Twin Otter seaplanes in the Maldives reminded me of flying on Harbour Air Twin Otters between Victoria and Vancouver.
Yeah, we featured them in our Vancouver episode. They were great. Yeah.
Absolutely. You did. So I need to do that. I've never done it. Michael Leppa, Rolofunk on Twitter. Achievement unlocked, flying with 2 phones. So I finally got to take the in-flight picture of listening to Layovers. So he actually posted a picture of flying. So yeah, you need to have 2 phones actually to do that. I never thought about this, obviously, or to fly with a fellow geek traveler. So thank you for the picture. It was for those who are new to the show. At the very early days of the show, we used to kind of ask people to take a picture of them in flight, taking a picture, listening to the podcast. And then we kind of let it go. But I have a collection of those. Maybe one day I'll do an album or something, a release like when we're old, like a remembrance. Michael, I think you're in Finland, Michael. So tell us about Finnair, because it feels that Finnair is adjusting the network, cutting costs, laying staff, wet leasing aircraft to other airlines because of the Russian situation. They know that it's going to be a long problem. So it's completely reviewing its fleet and its plans. So, Michael, tell us about Finnair. I think maybe I'm mistaken, but I have the memory that you were based in Finland. There you go. Thank you to all the others on Twitter, because otherwise we could spend an episode just talking about it. But thank you, everyone. Another quickie, because we have 2 others on email. Camille G, a good friend of mine, lives between Geneva and London. Hi, Camille. Loving the podcast, bro. Informative, entertaining, smart, and well produced. I am sure your followers are growing, and it is well deserved. Can't wait for the next drop. Man, you wrote that to me yesterday. The next drop is today. Surprise, Camille.
I love it.
And we both saw it and we both loved it. Alexandra, She wrote on LinkedIn, actually, a list of our favorite podcasts, mostly on aviation, what she listens basically when she flies. She's been engaging with us for a very long time. So thank you, Alexandra, for being a very long running listener. And at the end of her post on LinkedIn, she says, she calls us the personal secret gem, the Layovers podcast. I don't have the all-time, hold on, I missed the sentence here. I don't have the all-time favorite TV show that would never get old for me, but I have this podcast, which I could re-listen to anytime. Two fellow aviation geeks who are also involved in the industry discuss their exciting trips, trying different airline products. Kudos to Paul and Alex.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that. It was a comprehensive and fascinating list of.
Yes.
I was just looking at of podcasts, some of which I'd never heard of and have already subscribed to. So we should maybe. Is it a public?
I don't know if it's a public post. I could also maybe simply mention I don't have it in front of me, but she mentioned a few of the very cool other aviation podcasts. And what I like is that she went from, if you don't really listen to aviation podcast, you could listen to this. It's very short too. And we're at the end because we're probably the longest of them all, babbling away for 2 hours. So she has a very nice list of other aviation podcasts, which could fuel you guys, your addiction when we are not on the air, because again, we are doing that now as whenever we feel like it. So yeah, thank you, Alexandra.
Yeah, thank you. It's really kind.
So let's cap the show with the end of my story about St Lucia. Again, sorry, it's going to be a lot of me talking today. I hope that Alex flies 25 times for the next episode so he can talk a lot about his own experience. So I'm in St Lucia, and we got a surprise, Paolo and me, from our better halves. We got to do a flight in a helicopter. So yeah, I was always jealous about, because you have a reason to, you always do, when you can, a helicopter ride at your attaché travel shows, which, plus it makes sense. You get great footage, and it's fun to do, right? I hadn't done a helicopter ride for a little while. It was pre-COVID. It's not as if I never do them, but... And so we went, and this is why the show is also about the other airport, which is called SLU, George F. L. Charles Airport, because that's where the helicopters are starting from. So that's the old airport, which now, I'll tell you the story because it's interesting, but it used to have, that's a nice call back to the early times of aviation. That's where British West Indies Airways was flying from. So clearly, the old airport, which is now purely regional. So you do hops with other islands in the Caribbean, but it's mostly a cargo. When I say cargo, is mail. I saw a lot of FedEx aircrafts they were ATRs. And I asked the guys, because we were a little bit ahead of time, and they told me, this is a feeder. So you have apparently one big FedEx aircraft that comes from Puerto Rico and lands there at that airport, and then he dispatches in these ATRs, and they go in all directions around. So that's a very useful airport for that. So there's one runway, 927. The helicopter part is at the very end of the runway, at the 09 end. So I didn't see the actual inside of the airport, which seems to be the size of your room, Alex, the one I see behind you. That's probably the size of the terminal of that airport, because, again, probably not a lot of movement there, but it's very neat and it's very cute. Let's call it that way. The terminal of the helicopter is half the size of your room, probably. So it's very, very tiny. Wow. And they do mostly two things. They do transfers between the main airport and that airport, because that airport is closer to the north, in the capital of the Castries, the capital of St Lucia, and they do these helicopter tours to basically take a look around for a bit more than half an hour. At least we got a little bit more than half an hour. I think it's supposed to be half an hour, but the Captain Owen, liked me, so he was like, "I'm going to do a little bit of extra for you," and Paolo. They have AS350B, though, the Ecureuil. So it used to be. Probably the one I didn't check, but the one that we were into, I'm not as much as a geek on helicopters as I was on plane, but probably from the 90s. So it was still Aerosptiale, which then became EADS, which and during the time they were EADS, the division was called Eurocopter. And now it's Airbus Helicopter. But that version is probably one from Aerosptiale. And man, the views from above, it's amazing. I mean, you know that, but we saw these two Pitons I mentioned earlier. There's Grand Piton, Petit Piton. Yeah, you understand that a lot of the words in St Lucia are French because they kept fighting each other between the British and the French who owned the island. We went so close to the big Piton, the Grand Piton, that we went up. He was having fun, clearly, the pilot. We went to wave the hikers that were at the top, and we were like, honestly, I could see their faces. So close we were to the height of that peak. And you circle the island, and you see, again, I said at the top of the show, the cities that are clinging to the cliffs or the rare plains on the islands.
That's the kind of place where it makes total sense to do something like that.
Exactly. You would not see any of this from the ground. It's not possible. We've done also a boat trip, a catamaran, which was really nice, but some of the stuff you cannot see unless you're there. And you see, on the northern part where we were, you see how the rocks are clinging to the Atlantic. On the eastern part where the Caribbean is much more quiet, as I said, with the water a bit more, with lighter blue, and you can sometimes see the sand. And it's fantastic to see a place from above like this, right? And the whole the different type of green colors, shade of green. Sorry, you see, and the rainbow colors of all the houses, because the houses are very colorful. They're yellow and blue, and they keep so. When you go closer to, because he was really having a lot of fun, which, by the way, so we had a father and two daughters behind us, because an Ecureuil is one of these, I think 6 people tops, I'm not sure. I don't think the father was enjoying the ride as much as I and Paolo were, because, again, Captain Owen was, very, I don't know, it was this tall black dude, super cool, clearly. He's done it so many times. He must be like this, maybe even from, military background or whatever. So he was really having a lot of fun. And probably the father behind me, who was in his, early 50s, when he let's say that he went clearly the first one to get out of the helicopter and ran very fast to leave the helicopter. Oh, no. That happens to some people, but yeah, so I enjoyed it a lot. Paolo enjoyed it a lot. I'm not sure, my friend, but I'm not sure the father of the two daughters, who were a lot of having, probably they were doing snapshots of their father being half ill in. No, because I was sat in the front, and probably he saw that we were enjoying it, and some of the turns he was taking were probably more daring than transporting. I don't know. I will never know. But it was really fun, and it was a really fantastic ride to do. And we saw Marigot Bay. So I want to just mention, because I know it's not exactly a travel show, but Marigot Bay, if there's one thing you need to see in St Lucia, is Marigot Bay. A lot of famous people have houses there. I think even Mick Jagger or something. But it's like, I've seen a lot of bays in my life. You probably have as well. This is probably the most beautiful I've ever seen. It's like the sea needed to hide a jewel, so they created a pocket, and it built Marigot Bay. I don't know how to explain that better. It's like it's an alcove of calm and beauty, and the hillsides, because, again, still very hilly, the hillsides stand firm to protect the bay. And that's the feature that I've almost seen nowhere, is that the entrance of that bay, there's a palm tree laden sandy beach that kind of hides the fact that there is a bay, and that basically keeps the peace, and if it protects it from unkeen eyes. I don't know how to tell it. Like, it's a complete, from the sea, you wouldn't know there's a bay, and then you enter the bay, and you're like, what just happened here? It's like it's literally a postcard that became alive. I've rarely seen that, right? I learned about it, and interestingly and kind of appropriately, humans would use it as a hurricane hole. They would hide from the rough seas in that bay, because, of course, again, very, very protected. When the seas were angry, they were there. And as I said, the Brits and the French, their usual selves, they fought there a lot. Who controls this? Because the islands kept changing hands. But yeah, it's one of the most beautiful bays I've ever laid my eyes on. It's a miracle of nature, man. You have to see it once. It's really something. I've seen it from above and from the boat, and both is really, really beautiful.
You sold me.
Anyway, back to Virgin. So should I try upper? That was my beginning. So you've flown upper, right? Many times, I guess.
Well, I had only flown it new incarnation, or not the suites, but the latest incarnation. Once
You have or you have not?
I haven't done the suites. I've done what you had on your planes, and it was good, very good.
I've never done it, and I must admit I was hesitating, just for the sake of doing it, because again I didn't know if I would ever fly Virgin again. So I could upgrade. So I could they have plus grade. You know, a lot of airlines have that, like Etihad
The
and
bidding system.
the bidding system. And I was like, you know, it was still like a good 700 quid, right? I think to make a good chance of having it. And I'm like, I'm not sure. It's just plus the flight is shorter on the way back, so I should have done it maybe on the way in. And again, I was so happy with premium economy that it was I didn't have like an incentive, like, oh, I hated it, I needed to. It was more like, should I try? And then I gave. I didn't do it. I think it was too expensive, not too expensive, but not worth the money. I prefer putting my money elsewhere. But and also because again, I remember flying once only in my life, herringbone, reverse herringbone is the version. You know, the very weird. They have like these. There's 2-2-2-1-2, but the way it's laid out, it's a bit. I don't know how to.
It's a very strange. Yeah, it's a very strange layout.
I flew that once on an Air India metal, but it was Etihad. We're talking 10 years ago. It's nothing to do with the product of Virgin, but I didn't really like the layout of being in the herringbone, like these kind of I don't know. It's just so anyway. It was the one thing I would have loved to try though is the bar. There's a bar at the end of. How is that bar? Have you?
Yeah, it's good. On the 747, it used to be like a really big draw. It was a big bar. There was like 4 bar stools, and it was a differentiator for them. This one is a little more compact because it's a smaller airplane. There's just not the footprint, but it's kind of a fun. It's nothing compared to the one at the back of an Emirates 380, but it's kind of a fun distraction. The thing that I thought about as soon as you mentioned that is, in the old upper class suites, the original upper class suites, you did feel slightly like you were in a tomb.
Same impression on Air India. I mean,
they had very high walls,
and you were very low as well.
And these ones are much lower. You do feel rather exposed. Even I did. You would it would be almost comical.
Well, maybe I must try it one. But I was curious about the bar because before I was flying, it was on Instagram. Who was it? Maybe I've noted his name down somewhere. Forgot. Dan Rogers on Instagram was telling me, oh, you should check the bar. I mean, Dan, I was only in Premier Coast, so I couldn't check the bar. Though, I was thinking of a new business model, Alex. Because I'm gold, could they not have a bouncer at the entrance of the bar say, oh, you're gold, you can come to the bar during the flight? Anyway. So the actual return. So I'm at the airport, arrive at the airport. It's tiny. Again, Paolo, my friend whom I flew on the helicopter with, didn't like it at all. I'm not going to use the word he used it because it's not a very kind word to the airport. I mean, you arrive and you have like a tiny like checking area, and you can see basically you have Virgin, which was the only open. I guess that's the quality of being in a small airport. Is like generally you have one airline checking at a time, but I could see the counters of American Airlines, Delta, JetBlue, BA, obviously, and one more, United probably. It took quite a while to check in, especially because that's me being judgmental again. Sorry guys, but you have suddenly people at checking, and I saw like thrice in front of me, asking for, can we be seated together? I'm like, did you not reserve your seats before? Are you doing that at the very last minute where like half of the plane is... Yeah, anyway, so it's okay, you know, we have time anyway, so it took, and again, the airport is so small, so it was okay to have a little bit of wait. I saw both lines. There were 3 lines, upper, premium, and eco, and line eco was the shortest one, so I said, you know what, the hell with it. I went to eco, and I overtook everyone from upper and premium. You know, sometimes people are like, I'm upper class or I'm business class. I need to go into that line. Yeah. Like, yeah, but that line is the longest, man. Just don't go to the short line. And then you go to security, which is tiny as well. I mean, dock check, which takes like a second, and the security, which is one security. Now there's two lines, but it's tiny. And you drop into that small gate area. I think there's 7 gates, but you know how it is. Like it's basically literally 7 doors next to each other because basically you go on the apron and then you walk to an aircraft. So yeah, and you have like a few shops from like rum to gold. They sell gold. The funny thing is, and that's a tip for any one of you who would ever be there and want to buy something. First, it's not really duty free. So if you were to buy rum before in the island, the price would be similar. Of course, you'd have to put it in your checked luggage. But if you do happen to buy rum, because that's one of the things that people do at the airport, check all the stores, because for some reason, this is pure liberalism, but they're not, the prices are not aligned. So you have people that are cheaper for the exact same bottle of rum than others. And I think most people don't realize that, because you see people going, of course, it's like literally, again, the size of the airport is probably double the size of your room. I'm not kidding. And you have like all these little stores dotting the area and the gates in front of you. And people go for the first one and buy there. And I went to the first, just because I had time. I wanted, and I'm a nav geek, I wanted to check every single store to see, is there something extraordinary? No, there's not. Yeah. But I was checking, I was like, the price is like $6 less here. And then I went back and there were differences. So guys, my only tip is that if you were ever to buy something, check all the stores. And literally 15 seconds separated from each other. So it's not as if you're going to lose a lot of time doing so. Then I went up because there was this sign. I saw the Tarmac Cafe, like a Tarmac Cafe, as an African, like, wow, it's going to be maybe like a terrace, and I could see the plane and having a coffee whilst waiting for the gate to open. No, it's just called Tarmac Cafe, and it's basically windows that you cannot see anything from, and I think botch at the very end of a corridor, and you can basically stand only. So don't go to the Tarmac Cafe. It's not worth it. So I went back down. There's a food court as well there. I went back down because I had seen the entrance of the lounge. So I said, I need to check the lounge, right? The lounge was called Lianola, I think it's called. It works with Priority Pass as well, if you ever were to need that. You take stairs so basically you take stairs, you get confused for half an hour, then you end up in a lounge. I was prepared, I had my Priority Pass card and my boarding pass. I'm like, will they understand here that gold gets in? I was trying to find a way to get it. Well, actually, Virgin provides the names of the people who are authorized to get in. So my name was on a list, so I was able to get in.
That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah. The thing is, the list, it was, clearly a printout from Excel. The list already, as soon as you enter, they cross your name. So you've entered. There were probably at least 10 more names on the list. I got the last chair in the lounge. So it's not a big lounge, so get early if you want to have a seat. It's nothing to write home about. I saw windows and they were kind of high up. So first, of course, I rushed to the seat. It was old, very old, but comfy sofa. And like, oh, there's windows. Maybe I can see something. And I was seeing the tail of my Virgin aircraft, and I was like, oh, maybe I can see the aircraft. Yeah, no, you can see the roof of the airport and the tail. So no, there's no views. And service is, so you can go to a small bar and you have the regular stuff, and you have service at the table. So probably that's COVID. I'm not sure. I had a choice between some soup and sandwiches, and hold on, I think I took the list. Yeah. I have a picture here. Cheese and tuna sandwich, cheese or tuna sandwich, pumpkin soup, mac and cheese, garden salad, bread pudding. I took this cheese sandwich and it was like nice toasty thing, so it was nice. But they almost overdo it. Like the guy comes and takes your order and thank you, sir. And like, my God, this is for a holiday. But it's really well done. And I was curious because I could see the center of the lounge. It's a square, and you sat all around on the walls of the 4 walls, but the center is busy with a bar, and it has a feature, and you can see windows on top. It looks like an ATC tower within the lounge. I'm like, why is there windows on top? But there are windows that look at you, not at the outside, right? And I was like, and I realized, I went and asked, can I go upstairs? And it was closed. And no, it's closed because it's the smoking section, but because of COVID, there's no smoking allowed. But I don't know, I would have loved to see we basically could have seen the sofas where I was sat from above. Right. I don't know if it's very useful, but anyway, look, guys, I would not pretend it's the best lounge I've ever been to. I've been to worse, especially in Italy. I think it was Venice, the worst one I've ever been to. but because there's nothing else to do, it's okay. There were a lot of seats near the gates, so yeah. I mean, I would nothing to write home about that airport. Clearly, the pictures that they took, like we talked at the beginning, would have been a better option. But it's okay, man. It's actually very. It's appropriate for the size of the airport to even have a lounge is a nice thing. So they have Wi-Fi in the airport, so they have what you'd expect in a holiday destination. I've seen worse in other countries, as I just said. So it's okay. It's okay. The one thing I've noted, Alex, is that the board says it was the arrivals board. They keep circling. Arrivals were from Miami, New York, Atlanta, and United Kingdom. So they don't say London; they say United Kingdom, and then all the American cities, they name the cities. But us, it was
We're going to United. We don't. Yeah, we get to decide where. We'll figure it out on the way.
Exactly. Anyway, let's go because we are nearing 2 hours, and I don't want to bore people and or bore Alex.
I've been looking forward to this.
So the same walk back to the aircraft on the apron. Same. Oh, it was nearly sunset. The light was even better. I took a few pictures this time. I was like, "Oh, the hell with it! I want to take a picture." So we walk to the aircraft, stairs again, and you enter, and it's that hue of red, super nice. And at that point, at the moment I'm waiting at the top of the stairs to enter the aircraft, the Dreamliner, again, the 789, the sun is nearly setting and the color is, man, it's just amazing. I mean, this is like, and as well that I'm going to fly from sunset to sunrise because I'm landing at 7 a.m. in London. So basically, the sun is going to do its all revolution across Japan, and I'm going to take the shortcut and I'm going to beat the sun in London. It's a wonderful way to end a holiday to have that. I sat, they do flight drinks, prosecco, whatever. So it's nice. In the same seat I had, again, the same thing I said was really nice. The people were super cool. The crew was super engaging. Probably they just also had like 2 days in St Lucia, so they're probably super happy to have been there, chosen as a roster to go to St Lucia. The goodie bag was different this time. The amenity kit, it was some type of craft paper-y type of thing, and it says like a soft cardboard, I would say, and it says everything is recycled, and it contained a bamboo brush, earplugs, a pen, and toothpaste. I just hope that the toothpaste was not recycled. The safety video didn't work. The reason I mentioned that is because that hue of red that is very calming and soothing. Well, obviously, they have to do the manual instructions. So what happens is that suddenly it feels like 5 a.m. in a club because they put like super bright white light for.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So suddenly you're like, what the hell just happened? Like it's like super bright, especially because it's becoming dark outside because of the sunset. Anyway, they did it, and it was really, you can see that it's the end of the holidays for a lot of people because people are still in the mood. So when the flight attendant, the girl in front of us, did the simply how you're supposed to close your seatbelt, she couldn't make it work the first time, and everybody started clapping. So it's kind of fun. It's So we depart. The aircraft goes towards the sun, but since we're flying the other direction, and in the end, I didn't realize that on landing, it's one of these airports when it has to do an 180 on itself. So the runway is slightly bigger at the tail end, so it makes a round, so the aircraft can do and faces the runway, and the sun is behind us, and we take off exactly at the moment where the sun is setting. Man, that was absolutely fantastic. Wow. Yeah, then the trip was uneventful. I watched the movie for 3 hours. I don't think that's a good idea when you do a 6 hour and a 30 flight and you want to sleep because, of course,
wait, how long was the flight?
7 hours, 6:30. Wow. So much shorter than the way in. And of course, it's supposed to be a night flight. You're supposed to sleep. But I say, there's Matrix, a new one. I'm going to watch that. And then why did I choose a movie that lasts for 3 hours? Because then I wanted to sleep and I slept like an hour and a half. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I enjoyed it a lot. The food was, again, it's usually, the whole joke, chicken, fish, lasagna, right? That was exactly what we had, chicken, fish, and lasagna. I took the fish, it's called mahi-mahi. It's a local fish. It's very, very good. The fun bit, again, here, but because people were such in good mood, it worked. All the food had been mislabeled on the actual cart, I guess, by not ground staff, what's it, handling.
Catering company, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, you start serving, and basically nobody gets the food they actually wanted. So you see like a commotion of people say, I wanted the lasagna, but it looks like a fish. And people, because it was it was not the fault of Virgin, it was all mislaid, but it was really fun. It made for a fun, entertaining part of the flight for about 20 minutes when they were rearranging the place of everyone. Okay, yeah, you wanted? You wanted the fish. So you get the lasagna, but actually the lasagna is the fish. So that worked quite well. Yeah, slept well because, I didn't know how I would sleep. I slept very well. Alexandra, the one who wrote that LinkedIn thing, we will fight on the sleeping position because we don't agree what's the best sleeping position. I'm someone who sometimes, I will admit it to the world, I put my feet, my shoe, I don't ever, on the top of the armrest in front, but not to the, just angled, not to the, she tells me that she hates me when I do, but I'm tall, so it's one of the ways I can actually manage the space.
Harder for you, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Heathrow, same old self, crowd management, crazy, nothing works, e-gates are not working. The usual Heathrow, you're like, we're back in London, it's okay. The only good thing about it all is that for once, never happened to me in London in more than 10 years now, my luggage was the third to arrive. So that was done super, super quickly. And we mentioned it both because I think you had gone to Bath at that point, and you've seen the same thing. It was Easter, so the runway, highway, motorway.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. No, we were up at Highclere Castle, aka Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey, yeah.
And the traffic was an absolute train wreck because it was the 4-day weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it was 7 a.m. and the number of cars that were trying to get at Heathrow, I'm like, oh my God. And, still the same thing that before. We still have a lot of flights that are being canceled left and right, which is why I chose for Corsica, which I'm going at the end of the month, I chose to go with EasyJet because, first of all, BA doesn't seem to want to fly there anymore. So maybe they just removed it from their schedule. But also, I wouldn't trust BA these days because they seem to cancel everything. So EasyJet is canceling also stuff, so let's be fair. But I decided to do EasyJet. Anyway, sorry, because I'm dragging on. Just shout out to Ben Fleet Travel, Terry, and her daughter Sam. Sam is a good friend. Because for the first time in a lifetime almost, I use a travel agent to do that trip, to do Virgin. Oh. Because I always say I'm very self-dependent. I don't need anyone, and I couldn't have found the right combination with the hotel and the resort and everything without them. So, travel agents do serve a purpose. It's a bit unsettling when you say, can I have the hand on my flight? Or is it somebody else having the third party having the hand on it? Everything went super smoothly. So shout out. And again, it's one of the rare occasions I wouldn't have been able to go on holidays if I didn't have a travel agent.
Wow, that's quite an endorsement.
Yeah. So they even found cheaper flights that I would find myself, and you and me are very good at finding flights. Wow. So they do serve a purpose. It's not only for people that don't want to have to do it. So there you go.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, but that was very long. So would I fly Virgin again? Big question. Yes. Yes, I would fly again. As we said at the start, I don't know if I want to try to enter yet another. I don't know, but I would.
Good.
I would. Would you?
Yeah, I'm slightly looking for reasons to fly on them.
Looking for reasons?
Yeah.
Do you have any flights coming up?
I do. I'm going to Colombia in 3 weeks. Colombia, the country.
The country? Oh, no way. Okay, I'm extremely jealous. Where are you going?
Medellin.
Medellin. My God.
It's work, yeah.
It's work. Oh my God. You're going to what? Okay, right now I hate you. I think we're going to stop the recording because it's unacceptable that it goes. No, I mean, it's one of the places I want. It was on clearly. It was actually, I was looking to buy tickets before COVID to visit both Bogota and Medellin. God. Now I need to find a way to get there. Now I wonder, do you know where you're flying?
I think almost certainly Avianca.
Oh, there, yeah.
That will be a new one. Yep.
That will be a new one to learn about. Okay, so I hope you won't have a a mess and cancellation. It should be fine. Probably the next time we'll record. So I would have probably been in Pakistan, but we're not sure. You would have been to Colombia, so we'd have something. And I'd been to Corsica, which I think you have.
I've never been to Corsica, no.
Oh, I will be officiating a wedding, my second in my life.
Oh, that's exciting. Wow.
That creates a lot of anxiety. It's, when you do a speech or you host something, it's professional. Here it's friends and you cannot mess it up and you have to be creative. And guys, sorry, Alex, sorry, I spoke a lot.
I've been looking forward to this one for a long time.
Thank you for being very patient with me. I promised next time we'll start with you and I'll let you an hour of microphone before I start intervening or something.
I don't know.
Love you, man. Thank you. Oh, the music. Where's the music? What's the ending? Here's the ending. Bye-bye, guys.
Safe travels, everybody.
Yeah, safe travels. If any one of you is also going to Medellin, I'm going to be very angry. So don't go to Medellin. Only Alex can go. And I'm very happy because whilst he's going in 3 weeks, I'll be probably in Pakistan, so I won't be hearing about it. So I'll pretend he's not going to Medellin. Right? Thank you, Alex. I should have put it a bit higher. Here you go. Bye, everyone! I didn't realize it was dragging on so long. There you go. Looking at each other.